Hi, I'm Paula Wright, and I've made this short video about a topic I'm really passionate about, which is GP learning groups. We're working in pretty challenging times with the coronavirus pandemic. If you're watching this now, I hope you're looking after yourself. Peer support has never been so important, and nor has staying up to date with changes. This video is all about how learning groups can help with both of these. I've tried to explain what they offer, and I've also included practical advice on how to run a group successfully based on focus groups and interviews with GPs. At the end, you'll find further resources about this. I hope you find it useful, and I'd really welcome your feedback. There's a long history of GP groups through time. You may have heard some of these terms: Balint groups, young principal groups, study groups, and co-mentoring groups. But this video is all about self-directed learning groups. When we talk about self-directed learning groups, what we're meaning is that these are groups of GPs who meet for education and peer support without any paid or unpaid external facilitation. There are so many benefits from being in a self-directed learning group. So apart from the obvious one of peer support and the fact that your activity can be really GP focused rather than specialist focused, as most of the education provided in hospital is, there's the fact that it provides a structure which adds extrinsic motivation to your education and CPD. It helps you set goals beyond those that you may have set in your vocational training scheme, which is just to pass exams, and also provides the opportunity for non-clinical skills like chairing, facilitation, and different learning methods. You become aware of career opportunities by mixing with colleagues who have different roles. It helps to reinforce education which you might otherwise be exposed to very passively, and by discussion you're more likely to remember it. And then there's the opportunity to benchmark your practice and compare your own actions in particular difficult clinical cases, particularly where guidelines are lacking, with the actions that your colleagues might have taken. It supports appraisal, supports retention in the workforce, and there's an efficiency element in that sharing out topics between you can help reduce the burden. And finally, understanding non-clinical topics is made easier by discussing them within a group, for example, things like NHS reorganisation. So what might you do during one of your learning group meetings? Well, once you've grabbed a coffee and a biscuit, activities might include presenting a topic that a member has prepared in advance, discussing significant event, case discussions or complaints, looking at journal papers, non-clinical dilemmas, for example relating to employment and workload issues, sharing learning points from courses you've attended, sharing resources in general, or a turn up and share model where you turn up without any preparation and share what you've learnt since last time. So there are trade-offs to be had in the way you set up a learning group. The first one is regarding size. A larger size supports greater sustainability, as meetings can go ahead even when one or two people might need to cancel at the last minute. The trade-off is cohesion, as it takes a while to build up trust and create a safe space. The second one is regarding structure versus feeling free of pressure. So a structure means different people agreeing to present topics versus something more informal where you never feel under pressure. The third one is the trade-off between time spent informally socialising and on peer support versus more focused time on education. The first meeting of the learning group is one of the most important. You have your introductions, find out about each other's roles and experiences and your reasons for joining, as well as trying to agree between you the purpose of the group. It's important to have a chat about ground rules and in particular membership, that is when and how new members are invited to join. Housekeeping, including setting the time and date for meetings, and this in larger groups is easier to do because you can set an agreed day of the month on a regular basis, like the third Tuesday of the month, whereas in smaller groups often the dates have to be agreed one at a time and take a lot more time to set up. You'd want to discuss how you're going to work, what sort of activities you'll do and how you might share out the workload, and start to plan ahead for the next few months. So when you form a learning group, one of the first things to do is to agree your ground rules, and that might include what your purpose is for the group, how agendas are agreed and dates of meetings are set, confidentiality, how new members are recruited, and what each individual's contribution would be, and minimum attendance. What we found in our research funded by the Royal Medical Benevolent Fund, was that most of the self-directed learning groups had between 6 and 8 members, which the majority of participants considered the optimal size, small enough to foster supportive networking, trust and participation in group discussions, but large enough to maintain momentum and viability, even when some members were unable to attend every meeting. Getting together regularly to review how things are going is really important. So having a review meeting perhaps once a year is really helpful, and these are some of the things you might want to do in your review meeting to make sure that everybody's happy, motivated and enjoying the group. Find out what's going well, what could be improved, what you're getting up to, whether the workload is being shared, whether you're getting the balance right, and so on. So how can you ensure that groups have the best chance of success? Well, there are aspects relating to structure of the group and to the activities of the group. In terms of structure, we've talked about size, having a size that helps sustainability. Being non-hierarchical and democratic helps as well. Being clear about membership, so who's in, who's not a member, how to join, and whether you want people of only a particular type of role, say all sessional or all partners or a mixture of both. Having clear ground rules and shared aims. In terms of activity, everybody needs to be willing to share and commit and contribute, having education that is balanced with peer support and social interaction, autonomy from other organisations, and ensuring that the group is run to meet the members' needs and preferences and that this is reviewed regularly. Running learning groups during the pandemic has specific challenges. Ordinarily, I would recommend restricting your group members to a geographical area which is feasible to travel after a day at work, and you'd meet in each other's homes. However, during the pandemic, most meetings are virtual by video conference. Whilst this has its challenges, it does mean you can spread your net a bit wider and don't need to factor in as much time to travel from work to members' houses, and may not need to worry about babysitters. If you are meeting virtually, as well as your usual ground rules about your meetings, it may be worth agreeing things like rotating who sets up the virtual meeting invites and agreeing to ensure that your video location is free of background noise and interruptions by other members of the household. Here are a couple of resources that you could have a look at if you want to read more about learning groups. And this is the report from the research that we did, funded by the Royal Medical Benevolent Fund. We've come to the end of my short video. I hope I've inspired you to take the next steps. It can feel unnatural to approach colleagues you don't know well. Relationships do take time to build and develop, but this is time well spent. I hope you found the video helpful. Remember to look after yourself, and do get in touch if you want to send me feedback about this video.